Yes,
We're back,
we are back. We're here.
or just started.
We'll figure it out. We'll sort that out. Yeah. So, interview with Don Miller, which is coming, may or may not have already occurred, but most of it, and so it's all good.
I mean, I have my clock up there. I guess if you look at the settings on the clock, maybe you can figure it out whether it
Yeah.
occurred first or not.
All
Yeah,
right, man.
uh, Don Miller, what a great conversation that is going to be.
Yes, no doubt.
Yes, no doubt.
All right. Yeah. So, a couple things. I know you have something you want to put in front of me, but I have been asked to ask you, and I should have thought about myself,
Oh no.
but behind you are like
Uh-oh.
some wood projects, artifacts, no, things that I know that you did because you've told me, but you got to kind of share more about.
I don't have to, but yeah, I mean,
You gotta, yeah, yeah, because I know Tracy. I want to talk about that too. Like
oh yeah.
Tracy knows a lot and said it's pretty amazing stuff. But like, just yeah, show me a couple samples of yeah,
Let me show you. Well, I'll start with what's most common. So during COVID,
yeah,
I started turning wood bowls on a lathe. It was great COVID pastime. So what you're seeing there is just some of the ones, like the ones up at the top. Those are really early works that I'm going to keep just because no one wants them. But,
they don't know that. They
uh,
might. They don't know about their availability.
but these ones here, they're more like marketable. I mean, I've probably sold over 300 bowls, which is just blows my mind that there's 300 bowls I made out in the world. And I think I'm in like 40 states right now.
Nice.
I've shipped to. It's really weird. It's a weird sensation. Anyway,
Well, could
it's
you?
it's a
Yeah,
fun
like
hobby. You know, you get a hunk of wood and can make it into a bowl, right? So
that's amazing.
this was a log in my driveway. That's just fascinating to me that you can take a piece of wood. I love this is my log weighing log
Kind of redundant.
on purpose, but sure, you, so I
Big.
mean, the trees that I get are like either in someone's firewood pile or they fell down in a storm.
How do you know? Like, how do you target a piece of wood that? Oh yeah, that's something that you can that would be lasting like that, as opposed. I
There are certain hardwoods that are good to do, like walnut, maple.
yeah.
I hate oak. It doesn't look good and it's really hard to work with.
Yeah.
But I mean walnut, maple, cherry. Cherry's probably the one people like the most.
That grain is amazing. So with Tracy doing her artwork, so you connected with her, and then like how
And
long did it take for you to figure out that you had this kind of maybe corroboration or a way that you could take what you do and have her art it up?
well, your sister is a gifted artist. I hope you realize that, right?
I know she's good, but you're about to maybe take it into a different level of depth.
Yeah, I wish you told me. I would have brought up a picture. I would have brought up a picture of some of the bowls she's done. We can try and find those and put them up later. But her rose mauling, which is the Norwegian folk art, it's amazing stuff. And I'm 50% Norwegian. You must be 100% Norwegian, right?
Not 100%. I think it's like 50 or 25. I think my grandfather was England. My grandmother Purdy was from Sweden, but then my grandmother Johansson was German. My grandfather was Norwegian, but I think it's somehow more than 26%. Like somehow, yeah. Anyway,
Well, and she married a Norwegian, didn't she? Is your sister Tracy?
oh shit, yeah. That
Yeah.
Scott Olson is as Nordic as they get. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like
he's a Viking.
original Viking blood. Yeah. We'll
I
obviously
mean,
be talking to him on this. We're just yeah, we're getting warmed up to Scott
well, so
and Tracy.
I don't I guess because Frank was visiting out there.
Yeah.
So your roommate Frank,
Yeah.
he also enjoys wood turning and woodworking. Somehow we got connected on that, and wood,
He
wood
made me, okay. That is
wine stopper, yeah.
yeah, a wine
Wine stopper.
stopper.
Love
Yep.
it.
Uh,
Oh,
okay.
bottle opener.
Yep. And then from an oak tree, which I know you don't like, but he made me drumsticks, which
I,
I,
I I've never seen those, but I've heard you talk about them a couple times. So
oh
you
yeah, I've used them in our concerts.
sure.
Some Tom
Well,
Petty and
so
Bob Seger stuff. Yeah.
so the bowls, I mean, I love turning on the lathe, and I watched, I don't know, thousands of hours of YouTube videos to figure out how to do this. And this is the sweet spot. Like you can actually sell these and kind of pay for your hobby. So
It's beautiful.
I started
Yeah.
doing it.
All
And
right. Well, Tracy said you're
you can do some ornate stuff. This is a cherry bowl, but then you put an inlay in it, right?
nice.
So
Yeah.
those like this is resin with mosaic tiles. I just love it's a creative outlet.
All right. Well, that's yeah.
Well, let me show you something from your sister. Some bowls. I gave her some unfinished bowls. She painted them, and I mean they're fantastic. I just they're so amazing. We should put a picture up of one of those. So just picture a wood bowl with rosemall painting on it, right? Which is the Norwegian folk art. So every year, I also do an ornament for my family and some friends. You know, just like I do like, I don't know, 8 or 10 ornaments. And so, like, here's an example. This is, don't tell anyone. So I hope none of my family are watching this, but this will be this year's ornament,
All right. Awesome.
right? So, I mean, it's just simple. That one's a little more simple, but last year's ornament, I went all out and I commissioned your sister to paint the ornaments that I made. Did you see these?
I don't know that I saw your specific ones. She showed me some things from time to time. Oh my
Her,
gosh.
right? So it's Norwegian. Look at these guys.
Oh, that's awesome. The snow Norwegian snowman.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is whimsical.
that's cool.
But I mean, it's just so cool, right? My family
Amazing.
and I had some friends that I had a couple extra gave to some friends. They absolutely love these. These are so
Yeah.
cool. I mean, these are heirloom. Those are heirloom quality because of her painting.
Well,
Is
she got in yeah, she has some of the ornaments in
she's
Harrods in
got her
London
I got her logo on the box.
on the box. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. You do the packaging too.
yeah.
So these things are going to be in demand. I really am excited because I know all the people that we're reaching here. Um, it occurred to me, actually occurred to somebody else in my family that they were watching this episode and like, we're gonna hear more about the wooden
Well,
carvings in the back, and so yeah,
we
well,
moved to Virginia, and I've got to get my LLC transferred. I started it. I screwed up one of the forms, so I got to resubmit it. And then I can open my Etsy shop again
big brother.
soon. Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, that explains, but we'll talk more about it. But man, that's beautiful. So
So yeah, back to what we were talking about with Don, or what we will talk with Don. If you could put your appeal out when you post to find the people that we're looking for, that would be fantastic. You know,
we'll do that.
Beth and Tim Sandoval, Beth Dodds, Tim Sandoval, those will be
There'll be more. I've got some other people that have said they're going to come on and talk with us. Earl Johnson's coming on in 2 weeks.
okay.
Nick Cliff Thompson, Kim Hawks Pasquini, who does the two Camp of the Woods sites, David Thompson, Doug Dietschy, who was worked postseason a few years before you, and some other people. So yeah, it's going to be fun to reconnect. And
That's
yeah,
very cool. All right, you ready for this week's prompt?
I am. Let's go.
All right. Now this, just so you know, this question is a trap, a little bit of a trap. So be very cautious or caveat what you say. Okay? Tell me about your favorite vacation.
Wow, favorite vacation
Yeah.
um, that I've ever done or I want to do. Oh,
I
that,
mean,
okay.
so let me just say this up front. I'll save you the pain. If you say a vacation that didn't involve your family, that might come back to you. Or
Yeah, right.
if
Yeah,
you say one without the kids, that might come back to you, or one with the kids. I mean, you gotta put some caveats, right?
yeah. I will then. Thanks to your explanation there. I will say, yeah, growing up and going to that those 2 weeks in Florida that I wrote about in the book. That yeah, okay, it was kind of a business trip because Dad brought back the ski nautique, but we were going to Florida in early April, and ending up in Disney World, and you were there, so that was a big part of it. Taking the kids to Florida in April from here, you're sensing a theme. Getting out of here in late spring, early April is kind of a big thing. I remember when Claire was like 2 years old, and we took her for a week, and we were splashing on the beach in the sand, and then we came back to the airport, and there was like a layer of ice on the car, and she was like, "Whoa, what happened?" Like earlier that day, we were on the beach. Uh, but yeah, I've got some future ideas. One of the, I guess you'd call it a vacation for sure, but in the spring of 2027, and I have reasons for it being then for my own
Okay.
personal financial reasons, is I want to go to Israel now, to walk in places that have been verified, where Jesus walked and other
Yeah.
biblical figures have been. It blows your mind to a point that it's almost, you can't even believe you're there. Now, I would want to have a trip, ideally with close friends like you, and maybe others who I don't know that well that I would like to get to meet and know better, because a trip like that lends itself to just incredible memories,
Well,
as you know from like your friends and the trips that you do. But to bookend it maybe with going to a few days in Greece and a few days in Italy at the end, or vice versa, or one of the two. But so it's funny you mentioned that, because that's a trip that I've been giving a lot of thought to. It scares me because of, again, what's going on in Israel now, and hopefully that settles down to a point where the idea seems feasible again soon. But anyway, I know it's not that exciting. It kind of is, but I actually haven't given that a lot of thought.
I mean, that's the point of the prompt is just what's it prompt you to think about?
Now, how about you?
Well, so I like how you kind of had different categories of vacations, right, with different groups of people.
Yeah.
Because I was going to do the same thing, right? My favorite vacation as a family, well, it's with my friend that we're going to show a video here shortly. They have 4 kids. We have 4 kids. They had a place in Maine, and we all met there. And it was just on a lake in Maine. It reminded me very much of the Adirondacks, as far as look and feel. And we spent a week there just hiking and doing activities around their place. It was fantastic, very close to Mount Katahdin, and it just having all 8 kids in one place. It was just so much fun. They were older. Our kids were late teens, early 20s when we did that.
Very
Uh,
cool.
Favorite vacation though, like I can't say one of these backpacking trips is my favorite vacation because I'll get in trouble with Lori. What do you mean that was your favorite vacation?
One element of it. Yeah. All right.
But that wouldn't be true anyway. It's a tough call. Both of them, and Lori and I went for a walk tonight. We were talking about this very topic because I knew I was going to ask you. We've done two-week vacations, one to Hawaii and one to Italy. And
Nice.
it would be tough to choose which one of those, but I'm probably going to go with the Italy trip uh, solely because of the food.
Oh yeah,
The
right,
food.
right. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, I mean, it was just such a lifetime trip. But the 2 weeks, there's something magical that happens about the work stress load. After the first week, you really kind of forget that you got a job to go back to and a boss and stress and work to do. And so it just that decompression from getting away after the first week, magic. Just
I like that. So what you're saying is, if it was just 1 week, of course it would be, still very good. But as you get to Tuesday and Wednesday, you're thinking, the end of the week's coming. Whereas if you knew you had that buffer of another week in the back, then that first Tuesday or Wednesday doesn't really mean anything because, yeah, good stuff.
yeah, but the food. I mean, we went to the place where they invented pesto, right? It was just so good. Oh my word.
Well, good. Yeah, man, you got me excited thinking about it. So,
Yeah. So, okay. And I would love to plan a trip for all of us at some point. That would be so fun. Amazing. Let's see if I can get this to work.
okay.
A little setup, okay? So I love my friends, but but they're very needy. Okay, these guys. So I go on a backpacking trip. I got my Yosemite shirt on today. Last week, I think I had Isle Royale or something. I got a lot of memories of backpacking with these guys. And I plan the trips, which is a ton of work,
Yeah.
but it gives me the privilege of choosing where we go, right? Now, I let them think that they vote and they get a choice, but it's a super secret algorithm on where we're going to go
Your vote is weighted.
a little bit. I mean, if they want to do the planning, that's fine. I'll show up just
Yeah.
like they
Yeah.
do. And when we go on these trips, our goal is to keep the weight as little as possible in your pack. You take one item called your luxury item, right? So I might bring a comfortable chair, or I might bring a comfortable pillow that weighs just a little bit more, right?
Mhm.
These guys call me their luxury item. I'm I'm the luxury item because I'm doing all the work of doing the planning and taking, they don't have to worry about anything. I book the
It's your intellectual property that's weighted. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Investment. Yes.
so now when they want to go on a trip and they're planning it, I'm good at once a year to go backpacking. These guys want to do it like all the time. And so they wanted to go on this trip one year. I think it was in November. It was going to be 20 degrees out. I'm like, no, I'm out. And they've never let me forget it. Like, you know, they made a stupid video when they were on this trip searching for me in the woods. Tom, Tom, I don't know where he is. Do you know where he is? He said he'd be here, right? And so, like every couple weeks, there's another "Where's Tom" video coming from my friend.
Because you chose not to do a week in the wilderness when it was
Yeah.
20 degrees.
No, and what they don't tell you about that trip, they cut it short because they were cold, right?
Yeah.
Those clowns. Anyway, I could choose better friends, but you know.
They sound like the kind of friends that, yeah,
Anyway, let me show you. So I got this video this summer. This is my friend Ryan. He lives in Pennsylvania. We worked together 30 years ago, right after I graduated college, just about. We both worked at Blue Cross, sat in cubicles right next to each other, and just became great friends. And he's the one who has 4 kids. They're the same age as our 4 kids. Our kids grew up together. We vacationed together.
Awesome.
Just
Yeah.
just that connection. Um, and so he took his family for the last 2 summers or two. I think they go up in September, so it's a little more like fall. He told me, we're going up to Lake Pleasant. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's where Camp of the Woods is. That's where I spent 3 summers. He's like, oh yeah. And it turns out one of his daughter-in-laws worked at camp. So he has a camp connection as well, that his daughter-in-law had worked there. So then I got this video, and apparently he spent some time putting this
This
together.
this is fantastic. Yeah, when you sent it to me, I could not believe. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
let me see if
yeah.
I can get this to work on here. We wouldn't have heard it. I made that mistake before. Here we go. You ready? Let's
Audio's, yeah, yeah. Can't wait to see this.
play. This is my friend Ryan.
Okay, this is where Tom, I think, told me to meet him.
Uh,
Pretty sure it's at the Camp of the Woods. Let's go up here, see if we can find where we're going here.
Good video.
Oh yes, look, here it is. All right. All right, I'm here. I'm gonna go look to see if I can find Tom anywhere. Tom! Tom? Tom? I don't see him anywhere. Just like my luxury item to let me stranded here and stand me up again. Typical. All right, I found some workers, I think. Let me check with them. Hey, do you guys work here?
We do, yeah.
We do. Do you guys happen to remember a Tom?
You mean Tom the Boat Boy Orser?
Oh, of course, he's a legend here.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you know where he's at?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
Ah,
No.
dang it. I'll keep looking for him.
All
Thanks
right.
for your help.
Yeah.
All right, I found another worker. Do you happen to know where Tom Orser's at?
Unfortunately, I believe he's on a national book tour with the other guy that wrote a book about this place.
Ah, I missed him. Well, thanks for your help.
My pleasure.
This is great, his finish here. This is so funny.
Well, so there you have it. Tom stood me up. Supposed to meet him here at Camp of the Woods in Speculator, New York. And he's off on some for national book signing tour for some book, you know, that he's referenced 63 times in or something like that. Well, anyway, I tried. I showed up, but, you know, Tom didn't. Typical. Well, maybe next time.
Oh man,
Oh, my God.
when you sent that to me the first time, I laughed so hard. I watched it a couple times, and that honestly it's without the background that you shared just before this about you standing them up allegedly not going on. That is, I really gotta say, like, for those young people there that work with them on that kudos to them. Yeah, that was funny stuff.
I mean, I don't want to make his head too big, but that was freaking funny.
It was. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
pretty good. It's pretty good. The prior year,
Yeah.
when he told me they were going there, I told him, oh yeah, right across from the point is a place called Cherry Creek.
Yeah.
I used to park over there and make out with Lori. So
Oh no.
Don, he sent me a video of him and his wife Dawn in their car at Cherry Creek.
I'm feeling the vibe here.
So, I mean, it's pretty funny, right? I know he's going to look at this and think he got the better of me, which I guess he did.
Listen, this was good. He did good. Yeah. I'm not even sure really if he could comprehend like how well that lends itself to, what we've been talking about, and really just the timing of all that's happened, and here with the podcast and us going back to camp. That was fantastic. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Don Miller coming up next.
Gonna be awesome.
I
So-
guarantee it'll be good.
Yeah. What?
You can say interesting things now.
Yeah. Did you
All
sign
right.
it? Did he sign that disclaimer, that agreement? Yeah. Did you ever Clemson lawyers check it out, or?
I did not sign anything, so I'm going to be very cautious on what I say. Good to see you,
Oh,
bro.
no. Great to see you too.
We have had attorneys on the call in the past, so
We'll have more,
And
but
I'm not an attorney.
I have so
oh,
been looking forward to this, Don. You have no idea.
me too, Donnie. And so Paul Voltmer and David Hughes. How do we join that club to call you Donnie?
Yeah.
Maybe after this, do we have to earn it?
Boy, that is the only two. And my kids laugh every time they say that. They're like, Donnie, we've never heard Donnie. What's that?
It's like they really mean it. Yeah.
Oh, so you tell your kids, yeah, we're just not close enough for you to call me Donnie.
But you have an opportunity to earn it. Wow, this is good. So,
Mhm.
This is
wow.
amazing.
Tom,
So I'm sitting here in Raleigh.
yeah.
Okay. That's where you are, Raleigh.
Raleigh, and I'm sitting right here. This is it's called the NC State Study Center, and it just started this fall, and we're house parents tonight. And what this is a Christian organization that says, hey, bring in a lot of the nonprofits, come have your Bible studies here. You know, we're right across the street from campus. It's an awesome opportunity. So
Love
that's
it.
that's where I am right now. So it's really cool that you guys were doing this.
Yeah, well, thanks for squeezing it in. And got a lot going on, but I mean, since Tom found you, which by the way has to be something that we explore.
We will talk about that. I've got an entire agenda. So Don,
Okay.
Don and Donnie. Which
yeah,
one?
let's jump. I want to jump.
And
right
let me just let you know that I have not seen any of the questions right tonight. I have not seen the agenda, so this is all improv.
Okay.
You can handle it.
You're not a presidential candidate either, so there's not that level of scrutiny, is there? No, Don has video for later, I think.
Yeah,
This
later.
Here we go. So let me do the slideshow. Here we go.
Well prepared here.
So I am on a new mission to
I have not found Beth yet.
to locate former staff members, and we can check off number one there because in our first episode, you were the first name that came to mind that we got to find this person. And I'm going to put an appeal out there, and John Purdy, maybe on your when you post this, you can start listing names of people we're trying to get a hold of. I've put it out to everybody I know to try and find some of these people, but these are people I definitely want to reconnect with. And we ask that question of almost every guest.
Right.
Who would you like to reconnect to? These are people that have come up and they're high on my list as well. We will grow this list, and hopefully we will start putting check marks next to their name like we have with Mr. Miller. But I would love to tell the story of how we found you.
You must.
Oh, yes.
Let's just take a second to think about name commonality. Okay, Orser, not a common name. Okay. Now, Purdy probably is a little more. There's some brands, Purdy. There's a quarterback, Purdy's. I mean, I've heard that name before. Orser, no. It's pretty funny. So I knew you were a Clemson graduate.
That's right.
And I don't know why I remembered that.
Yeah, why would you know that?
I have weird things that stick in my head. For instance, Don Purdy was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan growing up. I knew that. Okay, see, so some of these things just stick with you. That fact happened to stick with me. And I'm going to tell you probably the root of why it stuck with me, Don Miller, because I'm envious of athletic ability. And I knew you were an athlete at Clemson, and I knew I never would be. And it stuck with me because of envy. So I went on Google and just started a search, Don Miller Clemson.
Ah, yeah.
And I cannot believe how quickly I saw your LinkedIn profile, because you tagged tagged Clemson on your LinkedIn. It was less than 3 minutes. And here's a picture. I'm like, I think that is Don Miller 35 years later. It sure is. Okay, so now I know you're still alive and active on LinkedIn. and I now have your company name. So I'm like, I got to get a hold of this guy. You also had a link to your church there. You had a
That's right.
reference to your church there. So I went on your church website. I'm like, maybe he's a deacon at his church, and I can, maybe they have their email addresses. They didn't, but they just had a generic email address. So I fired one off. My name is Tom Morser, trying to reconnect after 35 years. Blah, blah, blah. Please contact me if possible. Send. Didn't think too much about it. But then I'm thinking, I can send one to your company. I found someone else from that company and figured out their, at whatever.com.
That's right. Yep.
And I said, okay. Don,
On a level of 1 to 10, what level did you say how important this is that we find him? Like,
I could probably go find that and read it.
It
wasn't
a
really,
miracle scale, but yes.
I don't think it was urgent, and I thought it was a Hail Mary opportunity to
All right.
no. So I typed an email, don.miller@company.com.
Mm-hmm.
Click send. Couple seconds later, that's not a valid. I'm like, okay.
Yep. I changed companies in January this year. And I didn't update my LinkedIn profile yet.
Oh,
So
this
that's what makes it even weirder.
plot thickens.
Came to your old company? That is weird. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, maybe he spells out Donald. So I typed donald.miller@company.com, sent it, and I was getting impatient. I'm like, okay, am I willing to send donald.a.miller, donald.b, and I was getting all ready to do that, and you emailed me back.
Woohoo!
And so then I think I sent you another email. Hey, let's just have a phone call. I connected you, but I'd like to hear your perspective then from what, because here's 35 years out of the blue, this idiot's contacting you through your work email.
Yeah. So, okay. So Don's book came out, and I guess my wife got it for me.
Is that Beth?
And I'm sorry?
Beth is her name?
Kimberly. Yep.
Kimberly. Sorry. There's a
That's
Beth.
right.
Yeah.
And so we've been reading here and there and hearing pieces of it, looking at the pictures in the book, and I'm trying to think of names and everything going, oh, yeah, oh.
Yeah.
And so didn't think about, anything else. And then I get this email while I'm at work from, no, actually it was an email, my personal email from the secretary at church. And what's funny is we've recently changed churches too. We're going to a Summit church in Raleigh. But from my previous church where I was a deacon, it said, hey, this Tom Orser is trying to get a hold of you. And now I'm thinking, with all this training on this new company, they get all sorts of scam training, right? And I'm like, I am not touching that email. I'm not going to open it because I don't even recognize the email address. And, so I was really hesitant. And then I get an email from work, something about Tom, and it was confusing. And I'm putting these two together going, this book came out too. Let me just reply and see. And then we get the message. Tom sends something right back. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's really funny how change a church, change a job, but still it got through to me, which was amazing.
Still couldn't get away from me. Yeah, that's pretty funny. And that you would think I'm a scammer, that's legitimate. I get it.
Now, then you message about Beth Dodds.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to try to find Beth. And I'm thinking it's going to be so easy. If Tom found me, boom, I'll find Beth like in 10 minutes, and I'll be a hero for Tom because Tom's been looking for her. I've never found it.
Point of fact, you're already a hero of mine, so you don't have to work for it. Okay. But yeah, I've tried to look her up too. And I think the point of this whole slide right here is we're going to get a list of folks that we'd like to reconnect with. I think over 1,000 people watched last week's video. So that's 1,000 people who may know where Beth is, or Tim Sandoval is next on our list here. And as we talk to you, there might be other people that we'd like to reconnect to. And maybe
I think Doug's shown those.
Doug.
Because Doug Because Doug went to Taylor too, and Beth went to Taylor.
Good call. That is how Jimmy
I think Doug.
See,
Yeah.
this is how it works.
That's
We just get leads off of these calls, and we can try and connect to people, because we'd really love to reconnect with Beth and apologize for my team
Well,
here.
if you see the videos coming up, they're going to really need to apologize.
Yeah.
I promise you. Yeah, Jimmy Olsen. I didn't know her last name. Her last name was for the book was eluding me, but
Yeah.
if you read it, there's a part where I had to have it because I had everyone else's last name that worked from 86, 87, 88, and I couldn't leave it out. And Jim went in the Taylor yearbook and found matched her up with a picture and said, I am 99% sure. And then Beth Markell was like, I will take care of that last 1%. It's Dodds. So it was in there. You know that.
And it's funny, I knew that, but
okay.
Because we called her the barge babe. Right.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know how acceptable that is today, but that is what.
You can't say that now, but it was very acceptable back then.
Exactly. It's funny you say that because on Facebook yesterday I saw Steve Solom wished Jimmy Olsen a happy birthday on his page, but he did it in the way that just showed up big on Jim's page. It's like he said, "Happy Barge Day, Jim. I mean birthday." And I'm like, yeah, that whole thing just carries and resonates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as far as Steve knew, maybe 50 people, 20 people might have known what barge meant, but he didn't care. He was just going to go with it, and he knew Jim knew what it meant, so he just let it go. So, so that's another thing, Don, too. Like through our correspondence, you mentioned obviously great to get together. We wanted to do this, but that you also wanted to do this with former barge captains. We should talk about how that would work, like all the guys that we work with, guys and ladies, and then some before us afterwards. But that could be a multi-part series, but a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really fun catching Jimmy Olsen that weekend in the Speculator and walking over to his house and say, "Hey, Jimmy, let's get a picture and send it to Don and Tom."
That was the best.
And did you see how he was dressed? He had his hat on, which I cannot find my hat. I don't know where it went. Does anybody else have it?
I do. I have one of those. The barge,
You still have it. The white
I
one.
do. It's in the basement. You signed it. Actually, I have your signature, Tom's signature. Yeah.
All the famous barge captains signed it.
I don't wear it, but it's worthy of keeping.
Now, you all do know that they did paint over the all our signatures in the shack. Shack's been repainted. Our signatures are all gone.
That's sad.
In our hearts, though. Yeah, they're in our heads.
That's sad to hear. So, Don Purdy, this is confusing. Don Purdy, if we'd had a couple minutes beforehand, I was going to read you what I wrote for this week's Writers Club. It's short, and I want to read it to you because it ties into last week, and then it also goes into some of the questions that I have for Don Miller coming.
Well, Tom, when we started this thing, we were talking about what to leave and what to edit, and I think you made a comment something about maybe the parts we think we should edit, we will leave in. So as things go unplanned,
here
we go. We're able to have Don earlier than I thought we could. So here we go. Just do it. Let it roll.
So on the last recording we did, Don Miller, we talked about describe a place that no longer exists, or a place in your memory that no longer exists. Don Purdy talked about Boys Park and rock throwing.
Yep.
And I mentioned the A-frame Tentel at the point.
Good one.
So, and I wrote a lot. When Don wrote his book, I wrote a bunch of stuff too, just to get it off my mind, which a lot of it was just around camp. And
I tapped it pretty good. There's more other people, but yeah.
Yeah, and actually some of what I excerpted here is in Don's book, the description of the point. But I just want to read you the prompt response here. I go to a writers club once a month, and they give us a prompt. We have to write 500 words about it, and we read it. It's a blast. I love it. It's tomorrow. I can't wait. Anyway, this is what I wrote, and it'll lead into some other questions I have for you, Don Miller. So this is called A Place No Longer. The following is excerpted from a larger project recounting 3 formative years of my young life during college summers working at a resort in the New York Adirondacks. There are 2 places described that no longer exist. First, there is an A-frame tentel, a building shaped like a tent, where I stayed for 2 of 3 summers. The tentel was a simple cabin about the size of a backyard shed with 2 single beds and 2 dressers crammed into the tiny space. The magic was in the location. There was a Dutch door on the back of the cabin that opened to a tiny porch that reached out over the rocks on the edge of Lake Pleasant in the Adirondacks. And we talked about this on the last recording. The unobstructed view onto the lake on a moonlit summer night was wasted on staff members like myself, who only learned to appreciate natural beauty long after my time there. 35 years later, I am sad to say the tentel has been torn down. Second, the place in time where driving a boat was my job, skiing, tubing, and fishing were my pastimes, and my biggest worry was if the morning fog would clear in time for the morning island run. That place in time no longer exists. There is no going back through the wardrobe door to find Narnia.
Good reference. Good
Nice.
reference.
Yeah.
So we talked about that not being there anymore. I kind of wanted to focus on some of your memories of camp that just can't be recreated at this point in time, right?
Yeah, Don. So yeah, take us to when you started on staff, and then what years where you worked. Of course, we know you worked on boat crew with us in '87, and you're about to see some video of that. But maybe even prior to that, like with your family and through that whole thing.
All right. So 87, I'm gonna walk back here. So boat crew on 87.
Yeah.
86, I did the teepee all summer long.
Okay.
And then 85, I did dish room. And I think I did dish room the whole summer at the dining hall. And let's see, my mom and dad grew up going to Camp of the Woods 1 week out of the summer. My aunt was Gordon Purdy's secretary, and I don't remember what summer or year that was.
Gosh.
And she just passed away. Her name was McCaffrey, and or Harvey was her maiden name, and she passed away this year, actually, a few months ago. So we would do the so then they would take us up, and pretty much every summer we came to Camp of the Woods. We would do 1 week at Camp of the Woods and then 1 over at Moffitt's Beach. And the great part of your book about Garrow was I remember driving up Route 30 and getting stopped by the police. We were in our wagon, our station wagon, with a pop-up, Coleman pop-up camper.
Yeah.
And they stopped us and they made us get out of the car. And I remember had the dog and everything. And I was pretty young there. And they opened up the pop-up camper and shined their flashlight in to make sure Garrow wasn't in there.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what is going on? And so the first week, I guess we did Moffitt's when they spotted Garrow in Moffitt's.
Yeah.
And then the second week we were at Camp of the Woods and they were like, hey, night watchman just saw something going on. So, this was a crazy time. And of course we were young, so we didn't fully get all the story, but anyway, that part of the book was amazing.
Which was Uncle Bob, the night watchman, by the way. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yep. So then when I was 10, my parents' family and then my mom's sister's family bought a place on the lake called Birchwood, which is on the right side, right next to the boathouse, past Jimmy Olsen's place. And so I would always run home when I'm working at camp to do laundry and that kind of stuff, right? Or ride the putt-putt and throw the laundry in the front, and then that would wait it out and I could cruise all the way to camp. So that was, and then when I got into college, my parents we got there's just too many of us in that place. And so we moved to the other side of the lake, just a little bit further beyond Burkles. And if you look at mom and dad's dock, we're straight out to Tapawingo.
Yeah.
And so now, so I have 5 kids, and the oldest is 24, and she was on staff at Tapawingo, or she was a Tapawingo camper, and then she was on staff for like 3 or 4 years, and she even worked there this summer for a week.
All right.
Okay, so then I have a younger daughter who is 22, and she never staffed, but she went for many years. But she worked at Camp of the Woods, and she was a barge captain last summer. Wow. And so the reason she wanted to do that is because she said dad was a barge captain and said, I want to be a barge captain.
Legacy. That's a legacy.
And so she
Awesome.
she had an awesome time. And let me just tell you, just for the record, the guys, and she was the only girl there, the guys were awesome. They were so spiritually focused. She said it was a really spiritual growth period. I mean, she was really impressed with that whole barge captain group. I mean, they were on fire for the Lord. So that was awesome. So then I have a son who's at Liberty University right now, and he worked 1 year doing the dining hall, and then another year. So he's done 2 years at Camp of the Woods staff. I've got a high schooler. He's playing soccer right now. But he did TP last year, and I guess maybe did TP 2 years. So
Okay.
my youngest is 12, and
right.
so that's
So Liberty is what, like 4 hours away, or
2.5 hours from us.
2.5. Okay.
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, super close.
I love it. Oh man.
And so my wife's from South Carolina or Georgia, and she's just come to Camp of the Woods ever since just us dating. But so that's
Awesome.
kind of new.
I love the legacy of, I mean, first of all, that your daughter would be a barge captain is amazing.
Mhm. Yeah.
But just the fact that your kids have had the opportunity to experience Camp of the Woods staff life, right? It is, it's, I don't know, there's nothing else quite like it, right?
And I will tell you, it was the greatest experience for all of them. So, I mean, it was actually better than I anticipated, honestly. From a spiritual development, it was better than I anticipated. So
that's because you were on
Tapawingo is phenomenal from a spiritual development, but even Camp of the Woods staff was very good. So that was just super.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is serving with us probably wasn't as good. I get it.
You know, I will say one, Nelly, right? Nelly.
Yeah, sounds right. He's from New Jersey.
Anyway, he's probably one that really influenced me spiritually, that he was an awesome role model for me.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Do you want to show a video, and then on the flip we'll comment?
Let's do it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Don, I know you said that your daughter is following in your barge footsteps. Let's see. Set it up. Don, this is our 7th episode. And it's awesome to have you on, so early. But in previous episodes, we've talked to guests. Also, I've done videos in between. Some that I kind of promised in the book that I had and I would put out there. So we put them out. This is you in front of that scary Stephen King mirror, and then
in the bathroom. That's the bathroom. That is no longer there.
Yeah, the bathroom is there. The mirror is
there.
It was right across from the tent towel that got torn down as well. Yeah.
Yes. And then we did one with Jimmy. So I put these in fast motion so that we could go through them quickly. But then the next set of videos I have in regular speed. So I'll just throw this out there. Do you remember doing this?
No, not that one.
Okay.
I remember
Well, that's
this.
Saturday morning.
There's Beth.
There's Beth.
There's Beth.
Tapawingo luggage.
Oh yeah. Here's a
That was probably the day that the sleeping bag fell into the lake that we recovered.
Just that one day. You guys showing scars like Jaws.
I got blood on someone's bag, I'm sure.
All right. So when we get to a certain point here, there's
That boat's still there at camp, right? That one.
Okay. All right.
Look at that stud. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that was Scott.
That was Scott in his Mustang.
Yeah.
So here we go. So what I'll do, I'll play it straight through. Okay. It's about a minute and a half, and then we'll play it again and kind of just dissect it. But here we go. In the meantime, just take mental notes and